All right, everybody. R.I.P. Bambaataa. Let's get right into it.
Everywhere.
This damn
In your face. Damn. This is a
All right.
Oops days. Who I'm crazy. Choo-choo train. Kuka-main. Zulu gang. I'm old school like Bambaataa. No man's hotter. Damn Dada. Papa, you man's nada.
You help dip. Santana set. R.I.P. to the GOAT, one of the GOATs, pioneers of this rap shit, Afrika Bambaataa. You've certainly heard the name. You should know the name. Probably the most famous song he ever put out was a song called Planet Rock. If you've been at any hip-hop kind of party, especially if it's older, I can understand the younger generation probably don't know, but I'm old enough, I would say, to have heard this outside a couple of times, especially if you go to shows, right? Particularly, obviously, with sort of older acts. But if you get like DJs from the 80s, like a Chuck Chill Out or something, they might throw this on every once in a while. Just to kind of like, again, it's hip-hop history stuff. So, party people. Remember, it starts with the party. Party people, funky. I love how this record starts. I think that there's a reason why this became sort of the breakdancing anthem, the b-boy kind of, well, breakdancing, let's just say, b-boy sort of. But the point is, there's a certain, the moment when that thing, that, when it comes in, it's like just a shot in the arm. It's pretty crazy. I love it.
The Zulu Nation, yo, get funky. Yeah, just hit me. This is
Alright.
just get down and hit me. Just get some funky and hit me. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. You have electro funk. So much of hip hop borrows from this, right? Obviously, you've got this song. Listen, I had made a community post about this, but I really think that it's important to look at the classic videos and the classic songs. At least because it really does help you understand what this rap shit is all about. Party people. What brings us together is the party. I've said this many times that hip hop is party music, and people, some in the heap conversation in the comments, oh, what do you mean? It's not about it's about the poets, the lyricism. It's like get your non-funky ass out of here. You're missing the point. The lyricism is in service of the funk. So yes, if you bring the funk and the lyricism, now you're a god. But you gotta bring the funk, because it's a party first and foremost. And again, anyone that cannot make good hip-hop party music, right? Because hip-hop is a party of sorts. It's all kinds of very different vibes, but ultimately it's there to excite and get people moving. And if you can't do this, you're a clown, and you're not supposed to be in this rap shit. Again, I've said this in my video, in my community section post, but you'll notice the video. The hood. How can you like hip-hop if you hate the hood? If you hate FBA, or all the different, the Jewish community, all the different communities, the people, right, that make up the hood, the Bronx, that made the hip hop what it was. If you have this, like, I don't associate with the lower classes, like, how the fuck you gonna like hip hop? Hip hop comes from the lower class. It doesn't necessarily mean that hip hop has to remain lower class. Obviously, it's music for the whole world. But it comes from poverty. It comes from ingenuity. It's not just, by the way, broke, let's say people who are just selling drugs all day. That's not hip hop either. And Bambaataa was part of a gang. This is actually a really important part about what Bambaataa did to bring hip hop and to create these parties where people were not doing gang shit. That's the whole point, is to get away from doing gang shit, to have fun and to sort of build an environment where people could get away from the troubles of life, right? Anyway, the point is, these videos really show you a lot, right? Look at the people, the dancing, the wild dancing. Like, people were not dancing like this back then, right? This was unique shit. It was new. Hip-hop has its own dance. I mean, this seems obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't really know this, right? Even the weird costumes, they're obviously doing the Parliament Funkadelic thing, but they're showing you that hip-hop has this monk-like thing. It always has. It always has that spiritual, beautiful, hazy type of shit, right? That's what makes hip-hop cool, And I love that stuff. That's why I like hip hop. So if you don't like that stuff, do you really like hip hop music? Again. So I think this is excellent viewing material. Lead the way. Now, we got this, obviously looking for the perfect beat, which is probably, I would say, I prefer Planet Rock, but I know that, for example, with like my sibling, he loves this particular beat, and it's classic. How could you not like this beat, right? This is a really dope beat. Like, it's that electro funk shit, right? How can you not like it, right? So again, Bambaataa has classic songs out here. Another one to check out for sure would be Renegades of Funk. I've heard that like once. It's not as popular, but it was certainly out there. And then, of course, Bambaataa did a song with James Brown called Unity. Peace, love, and having fun. And that's where the idea comes from, right? So
everybody over there, seeking education. Everybody over here, we all need respect.
Respect.
All people of the world are hoping for peace. Everybody think. Peace,
unity, love, and having fun. And that's, again, this is basic hip hop shit. Now, for him to do a song with James Brown that early, actually, I got to give props to James Brown on that, because obviously people sampled the shit out of James Brown. But James Brown, I mean, come on. This is the legend. Super uber legend. One of the greatest musicians of all time. In fact, arguably the first rapper. Without his literal innovation with how drumming and the way that he created his own beats, right? Without that innovation, rap doesn't exist. So, anyway, but it's kind of cool that pioneer meets another pioneer, and they come on to create even more great stuff with this hip hop that we love. And the point is this, man. Hip hop is about the party. It's about the unity. It's about bringing people together. Okay? Ultimately, even the most gangster records that we love, they do bring people together in some way, shape, or form, if they're done well. Okay? Even yes, they may be talking that hard shit, I grip the steel, blah, blah. But ultimately, they're supposed to have an element, a party element, an element where you're bringing people together and we're not necessarily causing violence, ideally, right? Even though these park jams, and they'll tell you, they were always marred by violence, right? Shout out to Debbie D. I saw her, I met her years ago when I was living in Brooklyn, but I saw her Instagram post. She's from Bronx River, and obviously I think she's from Bronx River, actually. But anyway, she had put up an Instagram post shouting out Bambaataa. And it's important. We need to talk about what Bambaataa did, right? I mean, to me, this is the far more interesting stuff. Like, how exactly did Bambaataa, what exactly was his contribution to hip-hop? What exactly did he do? And I think the fact that so much of this is mystery to a certain extent and is not it's not actively out there in the hip-hop consciousness, to me is sad. Because people that don't know about their culture obviously are doomed to fail, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the game. Now, people will talk about like, for example, it's just hilarious how the YouTube algorithm is already recommending this clown shit, Hassan Campbell. Like, so you're attaching Hassan Campbell to Bambaataa's legacy, but the truth of the matter is that the whole thing about Bambaataa and the allegations and stuff like that is actually the more boring aspect of Bambaataa's legacy. Okay, let me just make something very clear here. I don't want to downplay. I would never downplay someone's trauma or what, particularly when it comes to things like molestation, because that's very severe stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, it's actually not important to Bambaataa's legacy as a hip hop creative. That is far more interesting because, look, the truth is that human beings rape, abuse, kill. Like, everyday human beings do this. Do you understand? Like, it's not really special. It's not an interesting part of the conversation. And frankly, the more people that dwell on these things, to me, it shows a dull mind and people who are trying to destroy as opposed to uplift. The only people to me that should really care about Bambaataa's allegations are those affected, including his direct victims and family members of those victims, and the law, of course, because the law should investigate. Outside of that, to me, I don't give a shit. And I'm surprised why, I don't know why you, if you're not one of those people that I mentioned, why you would really give a shit either, right? Now, again, part of you should say, okay, well, he's human like anyone else, and human beings are capable of great good and also great evil. So don't worship these dudes. I don't. I respect them as creatives, and I always look at people who make great things as, oh, that's a human being that did something great. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are the greatest of human beings. Don't idolize these people. They are just human like you. You can idolize their artistic contributions, but again, that's where it ends. So yes, if Bambaataa invites you into, and again, I don't know, I can't speak on because I have no idea, I wasn't there. But if Bambaataa invites you to his house like at 3 a.m, right? Maybe you don't go, right? And again, that's going to sound insensitive to somebody and say, well, you're downplaying my trauma. I'm sure, look, abusers have all kinds of ways to lure people. And again, that doesn't mean that it's that I'm blaming the victim. But I am trying to say that ultimately, this is actually the more boring aspect of this conversation. Okay? And I'll take it even a step further. Because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this. And I was talking about how when you look back, and this is the real conversation that I think a lot of people are actually afraid to have, but we're going to start to have that conversation about this whole kind of MeToo movement that started in 2015, 2016. What has it really brought us? Oh. Now, again, I don't have a problem with people, if you break the law, right? Because we have laws for these kind of behaviors. If you break the law, right, you should do the time, and it's proven that you've broken the law. You should absolutely do the time, right? That's not in dispute. But when we look at sort of this mob chase down of people who supposedly great people, who are in this public eye, who did bad things, and they were canceled out of there, and they were replaced with people who, interestingly enough, were nowhere near as talented or did anything. They didn't add to the landscape and make the artistic world any better. I mean, look at Hassan Campbell. It's a perfect example. Hassan Campbell exists as a public figure, quote unquote, because he was allegedly assaulted by Bambaataa. What has Hassan Campbell brought to the table? Nothing. This entire time, he has brought absolutely nothing to the table. If anything, he's just joined the crowd of the usual kind of lunatics, cloud chasers, gossipers, low mental thinking. I don't know what Hassan Campbell's, I don't know if he even listens to rap. I don't know what his viewpoints are on hip hop. I don't know if he even gives a fuck, right? So ultimately, he's really been a net negative I mean, again, we have to have that real conversation. A lot of these people that came out through the Me Too movement were a net negative to the artistic community. And again, I say a lot in quotations because I can't give you real numbers. But I can certainly tell you that some of these people that were canceled, right, out of, let's say, position, whether you be talking about someone like a Harvey Weinstein. And look, listen, I'm not about to come here and shill for Harvey Weinstein. But I will tell you one thing, though. I've noticed that the films that Harvey Weinstein was a part of are way better than anything that came out since he left the game in terms of the independent Hollywood film scene. Again, let's have that real conversation, right? So it's very easy to separate the man or the woman from the product that they do. And we're going to have to learn how to do this stuff. Because again, it's far more interesting what they actually brought to the table as opposed to their human failings. It's like, look, listen, and I don't want to make this, again, trivialize bad behavior, but it's almost like talking about whether I ate cereal in the morning. Human beings do horrible things. This is like, there's nothing special about that, right? So for focusing on the non-special and evil things that people do, this is why, truth be told, why evil is actually, and one of the things they say, evil is banal, and that's actually one of the really big parts and problems of evil, is that it is actually quite banal, right? Like, you talk about people who've done, where again, we talk about the Nazis and things like that. These guys they're not deep thinkers, right? Hitler was a banal mind. He was not the brightest guy in the world at all. He was envious of people who had bright minds and who actually wanted to build things. And he was like, you know what? I'm a hater, so I'm going to kill all the people who have bright ideas. And then I'll hire other people and then they use their little banalities and they're all bright ideas and directed towards hate. So my point is that all this stuff about the allegations, it's all banal shit in the grand scheme of things, right? There's a million Hassan Campbells, and there's a million people who would do the things, allegedly to Hassan Campbell. But only one person created hip hop, and that's Afrika Bambaataa. You get what I'm saying? So, truth be told, what's more interesting? I'll leave it at that. If you have any comments on Afrika Bambaataa and like what he's come out with, any particular songs of his that you love, any particular interesting documentaries or something that you saw, YouTube clips, please share them because I would like to know a little more. To me, Afrika Bambaataa seems like sort of like a hip hop ambassador of sorts, right? I mean, he was there instrumental in sort of, I would say, bringing hip hop to wider spaces. Not necessarily in the like uptown club scene, but maybe more like, for example, reaching out to a James Brown and just sort of, because he was trying to do more than hip hop, from what I understand. He was collaborating like with the Sex Pistols, so he's kind of like hip hop ambassador, right? I mean, I respect it. Anyway, love y'all. Peace.